Hey, it's Liam or Hydrisney Keneally here. We're back with another episode of the podcast. Today we have someone that's, I think, I keep getting tagged in comments saying that we should talk. It's Kaelan. Is that pronounced right?
Yes, Kaelan Doyle.
There we go, Kaelan. So Kaelan runs or has been running Halo Europa, and I thought it'd be really great to get him on, get his, background on how it all started, any of the content creation stuff that he's doing. But Kaelan, give yourself a bit of an intro. What are you about? Who are you?
So yeah, Kaelan, my name's Kaelan, obviously, as we mentioned there. I've been the owner and leader of Europa Halo, the largest European tournament organisation that's currently active in the Halo community. We started off in early 2017, late 2016, with just a small project that's grew into something a lot bigger, and it's sort of nearly a cornerstone of a certain section of the Halo community. We're a much more bigger team. We've obviously come on leaps and bounds in terms of everything that we've produced, in terms of tournaments and production and the quality of the content that we provide. But we're first and foremost for the community, and I've been happy to be a part of it for the last four or 5 years.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll go into depth, hopefully, about that 4 or 5 years and where it kind of started and how it got there. But more about yourself. We talked a little bit before we kind of started that you're working full time. What do you do outside of what's like the IRL version of you?
Boring enough. I work for a chemical medical plastics firm in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, and as a chemical engineer, process engineer, technical service engineer, there's a few different hats that I wear, but typically it's been producing a lot of key components for medical treatments in the middle of this COVID pandemic. So we've been basically working pretty hard this last while, and it's been a lot of pressure, obviously, but it's satisfying as well, knowing that you're actually going out there and making some products that are potentially saving lives and helping to ease the stress on our national health system over here.
Yeah, fair enough. And so how long have you been doing that for? Like since you graduated, or?
I've had 2 jobs since I graduated. So I was originally working as a process chemical engineer for a building insulation company in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, and then I left them after the effects of Brexit. Brexit was quite a big deal over here in the border area of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and the effects of it obviously was then I had left that job because of it. Then fell into this role at the minute. But yes, I've graduated in 2016 with a master's in chemical engineering, and yeah, so it's just been, I don't know, I was offered the chance to do a doctorate, and I thought, yeah, that'd be cool, but I don't think I could have stuck another 3 or 4 years at university.
It's a lot of study, man, and that's coming from somebody who I never went to university. So, it takes a certain type of person, I think, to really knuckle it out. But a master's is how many years did it take to get to the master's?
4 years of study and a year placement. So I did 3 years of study, which would have been with the bachelor's side of it, but the master's was integrated in my course. I studied in Queen's University Belfast.
Yeah.
But we did, after the 3rd year, I did a 4th year, which was a placement year, and you'd go out and get experience, obviously, with chemical engineering principles and such. The company I worked for was a very well-known company called GE. And I stayed there for about 14 months and then returned to study for my final year, and then obviously went into the big bad world after that.
Yeah, it evolves pretty quickly once you finish. And you were saying as well, you're playing football, but Gaelic football?
Yeah, so I mean, whenever you talk about football over here, typically in the England and the UK, maybe even France, typical areas, you talk about football, you talk about soccer, and I know that a lot of the North American audience would probably call it that too. But over here in Ireland, if you talk about football, it's a different kind of football. It's Gaelic football. Similar situation as if North Americans would call football what we would call even American football, the NFL and stuff. But Gaelic football is kind of a mix of a whole lot of different things. It's a mix of rugby, soccer, basketball, different elements. Even Aussie rules is very closely related to it. Yeah, as you'd well know. But it's an amateur sport, but it's taken incredibly seriously over here.
Yeah.
And even at the amateur grassroots level, which I play at, which even still, we're expected to train about 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Yeah, and what is training sessions? Is it mainly just running, or is there a whole heap of ball skills? Or?
A lot of strength and conditioning. So the Gaelic football's evolved in the last 10 years, and we've sort of a lot more focus on strength and conditioning and the physical aspects of it, to break tackles and stuff, because it is kind of a contact sport in comparison to soccer. So trainings can be very varied between a lot of gym work and a lot of strength work, and then a lot of conditioning with heavy interval trainings and stuff. So a typical training session for us would be about 30 or 40 minutes in the gym, and then change and go out onto the pitch for about 90 minutes. So you would be training for about 2.5 hours, and you'd be going through a lot of, typically if this was in COVID times, you'd typically be going through about pre-season, which would be a lot of heavy running, consistent heavy running for about an hour, 90 minutes. Then whenever you're obviously building up that endurance and that fitness, a lot of the summertime would actually be enjoyable, talking about like your tactics and game plans and playing in-house friendly matches and stuff with the rest of the squad. But we're not playing at the minute. The season's been shut down, but I'm actually kind of happy about that, because I hate winter training so much, because you go out there and it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It could be -2 or -3 degrees Celsius, and you could be freezing there thinking and question your decision as why you are actually out here playing.
Dude, I so get it. It's negative here at the moment in Canada, and I like to try and run just for more for mental health than the side of it. And it's too cold. Like I feel it hurts my lungs when I get into it. So
I know.
I think it'd be good to have some kind of like, there's a team around and there's a bit of banter. Everyone's saying, come on, don't be a bitch, let's do it. Like I feel like that would be a good element of if you're training, if you're training with other people, saying you got to do it as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason. So I played from when I was like 6 years of age up until I went to university. I played really a lot of it. I would say, I was playing and training 3, 4, 5 times a week when I was a kid. Like when I got to university, obviously university took over a bit, and I was playing whenever I could. Whenever I graduated from university, I stopped playing for a few years, and then I decided that I missed it, and I missed the fact that you had teammates to push you on and drive you on, and you had that motivation and stuff, and you missed just the thrill of just playing and being competitive. So I made the decision to return back to football, and I left my original club, which is my home club, which was controversial at the time, but I went to transfer then, which you'd never hear of. It's very rare that anybody transfers in Gaelic football, but I transferred to my partner, my girlfriend's club, which is only about 30 minutes drive, so it wasn't even like a huge distance, but it was just more to get a bit more game time, seeing how long I was out. A bit rusty, and then also to reduce the amount of training I was doing, because the club that I was originally playing for was quite serious and quite playing at a high level, so I just wanted to take a wee step down just so I could improve that work-life balance too.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, because that's where I'm leading into all of this, because you were saying as well before, you and your partner, you guys bought a house a few years ago as well? Yeah,
so we bought a house a few years ago, and it's interesting experience, whenever you live together, but that's the whole joy of putting your own touch on things. But so we're living in this house about 3 years now, nearly close to 3 years. It'll be 3 years this summer, but it'd be different. I can't imagine the fact now if we weren't living together and in the middle of this pandemic, how difficult it would be, but things happen for a reason, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. COVID's thrown a rock into everybody's lives and relationship-wise, because either it's a good thing to be living together or it's a bad thing to be living together. Like,
I know a lot. I've heard of a lot of horror stories of people just who can't stand each other after being locked down for 6 weeks.
Oh, look, I got super lucky, because I came over to I met my girlfriend's parents for the first time, and then moved in with them on the same day. So because it was because of COVID, I had nowhere else to go if I didn't get back to Australia, and we kind of talked about it. They knew it was happening, obviously, but it's still, I've now been living with them for almost a year in March, and it's so lucky that they're such awesome people, and hopefully they find me easy to get along with as well, because it could have been the complete backflip of that. When you spend so much time with people, no one's going to work, everyone's at home, and so it's a crazy time, but it's good. I think like Chloe and I, our relationships only gotten stronger from it as well.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, a lot of hurdles.
It can happen one way or another,
Yeah. So gaming wise, do you play much games in amongst the chemical engineer work, the Gaelic football, having a home life as well? Do you get to play much games?
Yeah, you try. You try fit it in wherever you can. I have plenty of different consoles about the place. I have a PC, I have the Switch, I have an Xbox.
Switch is going to be probably my favorite console from last gen.
Yeah, I mean the Switch, it's still current gen. It's I don't see it actually changing too much. But the Switch I got a few years ago, Christmas or 2 or 3 years ago, and I always seen the stuff about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I was like, people are playing it. I never thought I was actually going to get a Switch because I hadn't bought anything Nintendo wise since 1997.
Wow, yeah, that's a while.
So, Game Boy's obviously different. I had Game Boy's Color, I think was the last one, Game Boy Advance, something like that, early 2000s actually, so apologies. But a console-based thing, the Nintendo 64 that I got as a kid in 1987 was about 4 or 5 years of age. That was probably the only thing Nintendo that I'd got. But like, it's been a pleasant surprise. Like, the Breath of the Wild has probably turned into one of my favorite games ever.
I do. Yeah.
And Super Mario Odyssey was a brilliant game too, and I love just playing Smash on the go, and it's so good for the likes of, I was doing a lot of traveling with work there pre-COVID, back and forth between the States and some cities and stuff in Europe, and it was just great because just to have that for 6 or 7 hours whenever you're flying across the Atlantic.
100%. That's all I played. I played Mario Kart for 6 hours when we flew from Vancouver to Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we just went to Banff, and it was only a few hours. Same thing. I just got Mario Kart out and just working on trying to get 3 trophies for each, different course and everything. So
yeah.
Which is so
good.
Yeah,
I know. You get on a good grind, like, and you're sure stuck in the zone for it.
Yeah. And so, are you're mainly, because obviously everyone knows you for what you've done with the Halo scene, right? When did you start playing Halo?
Halo 1 I had for the PC, but I can't actually remember what year that was. But the real time that I started playing it properly was Halo 3, 2000, whenever it came out, 2007 or 2008, when we were playing Halo 3. Got the 360 and was really into it for a while, but I never actually played online a lot because where I lived in rural Ireland, there was no internet connection. You were stuck with dial-up.
Yeah.
And so I never really played online until I actually got to university. But
what was your highest skill in Halo 3? Did you get to that point?
I did, yeah. I got up to like 37, but that I didn't really play it that much online. That was the problem.
Yeah.
37, I think, or something like that was the high in Team Slayer, I think it was. Yeah, it was.
I miss those days, man. I loved it. So, okay, you weren't playing too much online. Were you guys?
No, but I played the absolute crap out of multiplayer, like campaign multiplayer. Me and my brother played split screen all the time, and I would have played it to the point where I could nearly speedrun it.
Yeah.
It was just flying through it. So I played a lot of Halo and Halo Race T, Halo Reach, but the odd times that I did get online in that period was lucky and was fun. And I remember, Halo 3 back then was like the Fortnite of now. Everybody had it. There was, all of your mates were talking about it in school when you went in the next day. But like, it's different now, obviously. Plenty of access to internet. I can play whatever games I want now online.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, I want to find where the point was that you were playing games and then you went, all right, I feel like I'm going to have to start something to do with the community. Where did the idea to start Europa Halo come in?
December 2016. It was just after I left university and was working, and me and my mate, who is also quite a big member in the Halo community, Halo Data Hive. So me and Halo Data Hive, we went to school together from we were 4 years of age. Lived together in university for 5 or 6 years, and I remember whenever he was developing Halo Data Hive, he had been well established at that point, and I had said, I think there's a massive gap here for European, not even European, it was like UK and Ireland. I'd mentioned UK and Ireland tournaments and community tournaments. And I'd asked him, is there anybody that's doing it? And he had said, no, this kind of just typically just the HCS, the official stuff usually. So I said, oh, well, I'd love to see somebody do it. And then he just said, well, I dare you to do it. So it was just a simple dare that had started it.
Yeah.
And by the end of that evening, I had set up a website and an email and, had started to put it out there, make a Twitter profile. It was called Halo Ireland. And then it became Halo Ireland UK within a day. And then as soon as I put this stuff out, then I was getting signups for different things from a lot, even across the Netherlands. And then it just grew and grew, and it had to stop becoming Halo Ireland UK, and it just became Europa Halo within 3 or 4 months after that, and grew after that. So I'd noticed initially that there was quite a large gap for something like that in Europe, because it's typically been very neglected by official streams.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And I'm sure it's probably similar from your own home region in the ANZ region, and big shout out to the guys from Halo Australia for being the torchbearers there in that region. But there was a big gap there for Europe, and we wanted to be able to provide a platform that could give as professional an experience as we could possibly do and provide fun. We didn't want to set out to make this as a thing that would further our careers, because I have no interest in a career in esports. I just kind of wanted to do this as a hobby. My job in real life is satisfying and hardworking enough where I feel the pressure of that already. But we didn't want to make any money. We didn't want to make a wage out of this. It was just a case of try to build something special.
Yeah, I feel like you guys have done that as well. What was the first event that you ran? Do you remember?
A 2v2 doubles event, which had 14 teams. I could still grab you the actual link for the bracket and stuff, but I had 14 teams, and I paired with Halo Data Hive. Me and him played together, and we got first rounded in my own tournament.
Same. Every competition
and I choked pretty hard. Yeah. But I remember, I think two guys from. No, it was a guy from Austria won it. That was our first event, and then we went into I think another cup. It was like a 4v4 cup, and then we went into a full-blown league, which had about 24, 26 teams, and then it just kept snowballing with that. We get more and more word of mouth going around within that year. 2018, we had another league which had 36 teams in Europe, which was mental. Halo 5 in its prime at LANs was getting about 30 teams. We were beating that. I know we had sort of bent the rules a bit whenever we invited the guys from South Africa into play, which we've always been a big supporter of, because they were a big supporter of us when we started on day one. And we said we'll tag them along with it on the ride too. So
yeah. And so you went from those competitions. When did the content side of things come into it? Because you guys obviously were streaming the competitions to Twitch. The production quality was getting really professional. What point were you doing that from the start, or did that kind of come in later on?
We did Twitch streams from the start, and it was for a long time. It was just myself who would admin, make the assets, broadcast, cast, and handle everything. Was just mainly myself for a very long time, actually, for two maybe 2.5 years.
Yeah.
There was a guy called Steve. He came into the team then. He was the first guy that came into the team, and he helped just take the pressure off of the admin side, but we still had a lot of the pressure on myself. There was other guys that we come in. We had a lot of appeals of people who wanted to jump on board and have a go at casting or have a go at admin and stuff. And we had the likes of Monster Bang, who would be a guy who's in the Halo community in Europe, and we actually played together at LAN. He's a good friend of mine still, and that's been one of the benefits, obviously, of being in the community. There's a lot of friends that I've made.
Yeah.
But we had started this, and we decided year on year with every event that we wanted to try something different. We wanted to better ourselves, better the stream, better the quality, better the service that we give to the people. Because although we're not getting paid or anything, we still want to be able to produce the highest quality that we possibly can.
Yeah, awesome. And so what did that look like? What did you think, like, between running those first few comps, the 2v2, going into the 4v4, and then having a league, where did you notice was the biggest area for improvement in those first 2 years while you're just doing it yourself?
I think graphics wise, we were like, I'll look back and I'll be I'm my own harshest critic at times. Looking back, like our first cups we ran were pretty pathetic, I think, in terms of graphics. And I laugh at them. And when I look back at the old YouTube videos and the old clips of them, some of the stuff that I had in terms of the microphones were crackly and really poor quality. And if I raised my voice at all, it would, come into this real static sound. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years into it, we noticed that we could do it more. We could improve the stream with more casters, take the pressure off. I was getting better in terms of my skill on Photoshop and on After Effects and Premiere, that we could, provide quick resources, that we could, we have a template that could maybe do a player to watch segment within, the pre-match area of the show. It was about that time when I think we noticed that we were getting better, and we were starting to get compliments too, that we were coming to that level, that we were reaching a tier 1 community organization, which we sort of strive to be today.
Yeah, awesome. And anywhere along that, did anyone ever reach out as far as wanting to sponsor or be a part of it? Any brands or anything like that?
Of course, yourself. Probably the only one who's really had a meaningful, what I would call a meaningful impact in terms of the sponsorship and stuff. There has been guys who've wanted to sponsor, and we've had sponsorship deals and packages available for guys who want to get involved, be it that just have their name of the esports team within our social media scoreboards, or within the team of the week videos, within the roundup videos. It was sponsored by such and such an esports group. But I think yourself has really been the only one who's actually had a meaningful interest in terms of supporting us with financial sponsorship, and obviously we greatly appreciated that at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not off our backs. We just want to be involved and try and add value to the community. So
yeah, it was a great show to be put on. I think that was our I can't remember which one it was. I think that was the free for all that we did last year.
It would have been like June, maybe. Was it June?
Yeah, I think it was early in the summer. Yeah. But yeah, that was obviously great support from yourselves. But we had the Hcs Grassroots Program, which we were applied to do pretty much initially when it came out, and we were the first organization, along with GT Halo, to be inducted into that grassroots scheme. And I can go into it later, of course, but it's changed a lot even from then, and I think that they are making strides to be better themselves.
What does it mean to be a part of the grassroots community?
I mean, we are happy to be part of that Hcs Grassroots. We, at the same time, don't need to be part of Hcs Grassroots to know the fact that we are a grassroots organization.
Yeah, obviously.
Especially for Europe, that is what we want to be. We don't want to, make money off the back of Europa Halo. A lot of the guys on the team now are incredibly passionate and really nice guys who just want to gain a bit of experience and just make friends too. They enjoy the social side of it too. I mean, Sherzy, who is, a guy who I've been chatting to from when we met at LAN in 2018. He came into the team. He wanted to have a go at casting. He was doing a lot of observer work on the HCS LAN events at Gfinity and whenever Faceit got involved, and he wanted to have a go at casting. And me and him have been working together to try and improve every time he goes out to strive to become better.
Yeah.
And bounce ideas off one another and try. I'm 100% behind him and trying to push him to become a HCS caster in the future. I think that he has definitely potential to do it. But all these guys, we're not getting paid. We are just doing this for the love of the community and just wanting to get enough experience to use that ability.
Yeah, awesome. And so what was when did you notice anything change in what you were doing when you became a part of the grassroots, like the HCS stuff? Did they give you any more direction? Did you notice that there was more support that you could use to kind of benefit what you were doing, or is it kind of just like a title that you get?
This could get controversial, but I think initially, without going into too much details, I did think that we had just been given this as a title, and probably my friends at GT Halo and the other forgotten son, I would call, of the Hcs Grassroots Beachland, they would probably feel the same, that at the beginning Hcs Grassroots was a great idea but poorly executed. I think there was very little support. I mean, I had talked to the HCS team whenever we were inducted into the scheme, and then 7 or 8 months later into the scheme. That was the only real 2 points that I had talked to them. There was a few social media posts, not a lot, of our events that we were running. Not a lot. We had tried to talk to them and give them feedback, and it wasn't looking like it was going to change too soon.
Yeah.
And we decided to just take a wee small brief step back from the HCS Grassroots scheme. Then I got a call, I think in late 2019, from a guy named Divian, who was really passionate and wanted to know about Europa Halo and the needs of our organization and the community. And he basically transformed the grassroots scheme.
Yeah.
Everything had changed under Divian, and we were getting more regular meetings. We were getting more, significant contact with the HCS team and better understanding of their future moves and ideas and synergy that we could work together on things. That we've seen now that we've been most recently we've been providing the official stream for the HCS Pro Series in Europe.
Yeah.
We have been, official, unofficial stream is what I call it. But we've been able to get observer access to the lobbies and stuff with their permission, along with Faceit. But we've ran recently the Hcs Grassroots Cup, which I won, and I'll remind everybody that I won. With Batchford, Unishek, and Reclaimer.
Congratulations.
I'm still gonna, if Wonderboy's listening to this, he'll still be a bit annoyed about it, but yeah, I still rate actually beating Wonderboy higher than winning the HCS Grassroots Cup.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we've had a lot more synergy within the group. There's obviously been some friction here and there. I think maybe partly to blame with maybe too high expectations we had for the program, or sometimes they just maybe have other priorities. But I think there is some things that definitely need to be improved on in terms of the communication.
What do you reckon would be the biggest thing that they could have given you? Not financial, obviously, because I don't think anyone in the grassroots program is expecting like financial backing. But aside from that, what do you reckon is the biggest thing that they could have done easily for you or with you that would have helped?
There is something, but I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
There is something, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. But
okay,
if it comes to fruition, that would be the biggest thing. It's obviously to do with Halo Infinite, but if there is certain things that have been talked about that do come to fruition, that would be what we would want from the HCS Grassroots game.
Okay. I'm not a part of Grassroots, so I'm going to go ahead and just take a stab in the dark what I think it is. You don't have to say anything. But if I was a part of the HCS Grassroots, especially from a tournament organizer perspective, I'd really want some kind of calendar of understanding when more along the lines of when the game's coming out, what is the actual competitive scene going to look like once the game's out? What's the room for tournament organizers, and where should they be focusing their attention on building the community around, so that, you know, as the game evolves, the grassroots tournament organizers can be having competitions that run into more official HCS competitions. So I don't know, you don't have to say anything. You can just keep looking at the camera. I'm going to ask you the next question, but I would think that would be something that would really benefit. Hopefully HCS can follow the grassroots guys, find ways to become more and more constructive with the grassroots team, because even now we've got a few players that are we've got the Halo Oz guys that are in there. You know, we've got a gamer called Monza. Hopefully she's going to be in there soon. You know, one of the girls that plays for us, Lady Echidna, or just Echidna, she's a part of it as well. You know, the guys over at Greater Toronto Halo. So a lot of people that I feel like I speak to quite a lot, and I really want to see all of them getting the support that they need from, you know, a company or an organization that they put so much time into. So hopefully that kind of steps up even more so. But would you say an overall positive experience, and it was improving towards the end?
To answer your stab in the dark, I'm just going to say no comment.
Okay.
But it's definitely improved from what it was initially like in its first year of inception. But typically now, yes, it's improved, but it could be better. There's some easy fixes that could be done that could be better. I'm not sure whether there's things that obviously we can't be told about that's holding them back. But yeah, it's been especially more recently with Divian and that, and the consistent feedback and communication that we're getting, along with, you know, some of the prizes that they have been able to give us. When we were able to give away in the FFA tournament, we were able to give away a set of Astros and a mix amp, which was a great, you know, prize to give away, and cool. Full benefit, and thanks to HCS Grassroots for that one. Yeah. Of course, we were really appreciative of that. But
what would you say is the biggest success that Europa Halo's had? What was the biggest win that you had up to now?
I think the recognition among the community that we are the main source for Halo in the region. I think probably within the last year that we've got that we are pretty much the ones that have been keeping it together as much as we can. And look, I'm not tooting my own horn here. I just know that's it. It's just fact that we are the last guys standing here.
Yeah.
You know, despite other organizations who briefly might have supported Halo tournaments and stuff, they've all moved on to different games, be it Fortnite or CSGO or whatever. But we're still here. We're still supporting Halo, and some people call it mad, but I think that's probably the biggest thing that's happened with us, is that we have grew into an organization that has peaked at 350 plus viewers on Twitch. At any point, we have, you know, the likes of you know, any European players talk about Europa Halo. I'm not saying myself, I'm saying as the organization, as the team, because we are a team. You know, anybody who talks about Europa Halo speaks in it in mainly a positive light. So, you know, I think all that recognition is probably the biggest thing. I don't really put it down to a successfully run tournament, because I feel like for the most part we have run successful tournaments, and that is kind of the thing that has made us, you know, being successful, as the community knows that whenever they enter a tournament of ours, that it is going to be, you know, of the highest quality in terms of how it's run and how it's produced on stream.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, like more recently, like with the HCS Pro Series, I think, you know, the fact that HCS were able to entrust us to be able to get into observer lobbies and things has been, you know, a credit to the guys and on the team that have put in the work.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, you know, like from somebody that's really only been watching for about a year now, the production quality and the stuff that you guys do in the way that the events are run, how easy it is and how fluid the whole process is a you know, you've got to acknowledge that it took the time from when you started 4 or 5 years ago to get to this point, and there's a clear improvement over that time as well. And hopefully it's something that kind of continues as well, because I love nothing more than watching these streams and seeing some of the production quality being just as good as people that are getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just such a testament to the passion that the Halo community has. And I'm dipping into as many different esports communities as I can at the moment, just trying to network. And the one consistent thing that I've noticed is that there are people that are passionate in every field. The Halo community, being a game that the population isn't technically getting any higher, is the community that has the most passionate people at the top, that are trying the hardest to keep the game alive, that are putting time and effort into making sure that the dream stays alive for Halo. And I'm one of the people that, and amongst heaps of people that I talk to, that really wants Halo Infinite to just be the game that it deserves to be, and absolutely bring those numbers back up to millions of people playing Halo. So it's really good to see the improvement that Europa Halo had over that time, because I think that adds to the motivation for everybody else to keep improving and developing themselves as well. I want to get into some of the nitty gritty stuff now as well, but so you're separating yourself from Europa Halo as of, I think it's this week now or next week.
January 25th. So the keys will be handed over to the team, to Sherzy and the rest of the team. So I will be pretty much logged out of all the social medias, logged out of the capacity as leader. I'll still be part owner of it, but I'll have no say in the decisions and the direction of the organization, and will not be involved in anything such as casting, producing assets, admin, everything. So it'll all be with the team that's involved, and of course we have Sherzy who'll be in charge of that one now.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to kill it. What's the main kind of reason for give me an overview of why you chose to step back from
it. So I had always envisioned that I was going to step back from it at some point. I think that given my own life and how busy it can be sometimes with career and managing football and managing a social life, that it can be difficult to balance all that at once. And if you tend to neglect one thing, it can really have a detrimental effect eventually on everything.
Yeah.
So I sort of made the decision with talking to my friends and talking to my partner that eventually that it would have to come to an end, and even chatted to Tashi and Devian about it, that I did have a view that I would end this after I'd given Halo Infinite a full year of support. And whenever I talked to them about it, this was about mid-2019, that I had intended to, stop supporting from my end of things anyway, that it would be end of 2021. Since then, the goalposts have moved a bit. Halo Infinite has been delayed, obviously, and it's been delayed to the end of this year. The thinking now, though, is about Europa Halo is it's very difficult to mentally motivate myself to continue to support something that I know that I'm not going to be around for whenever it does arrive. My intentions always was to end my support and my influence in the organization by the end of this year.
Yeah.
The intention was also that I would end this immediately, cut ties immediately, and walk away 100%. Unfortunately, there's going to be a period of transition with this point from next Monday on, that I'll still be there in a somewhat advisory role, but I won't be again deciding. I'll be, if there's advice needed, I'll be able to give advice, but it will be just giving Sherzy advice and being a leader, and maybe how to handle certain situations. But in terms of the direction, I will be trying to keep out of it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point. I'm 28. I'll be 29 whenever Halo Infinite releases. My career is advancing in terms of the opportunities that are coming my way, and I think as well eventually, other things in family life will become a bigger priority too. If those things all add up, there's obviously something that's going to be neglected if I decide to keep going at Halo and supporting Halo.
Yeah.
So I made the decision now to step away sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I talked. Jersey's 100% convinced that he'd be able to convince me to come back in November, but I think that it probably is going to be the end for me. Yeah. I don't really see any way in which I will be able to come back. I may still, obviously, I have an intentions to fully play and maybe even compete for Halo Infinite in some capacity, just to keep involved with the community and such. And obviously, I'll be the biggest cheerleader for Europa Halo on social media and on different posts and things. But yeah, that's sort of the main reasons behind it. I think that there is general frustrations as well sometimes too with some official support and stuff. I think frustrations about how Europe has been handled in terms of Halo esports, which has also contributed to my decision. But again, I've mentioned that in the statement that I put out. There's a lot of things that have happened that's frustrating behind the scenes in terms of not within the Europa Halo team, but with official support that I think has impacted my decision. And
is there anything specific is there any specific examples?
I can't really. Out of respect for the guys involved, I'll not name names or name situations, but there is some sort of frustrating aspects of when you work in amongst other teams.
Yeah, awesome. So I've got kind of two questions. Well, first of all, I'm on Hcs' side. I'm definitely going to be hitting up your DMs the whole way up leading into Infinite and with all the hype and saying, well, is it tempting? Do you want to come back? What can we do? What can I do to help? Because, I love the passion that you've got for it and everything that you're doing over there. I mean, I'm sure Hcs is going to do a good job, but there's nothing like having that comeback. I think the comeback is something that it's got a little dream around it. So hopefully everything's going.
I've already come back twice now, I think.
Yeah, better do it.
But I think a third trilogy of comebacks isn't on the cards this time. It would be nice, but unless things dramatically shift in my IRL life, I think that it probably will be Jersey who would be taking Europa Halo into Infinite.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I completely support you in chasing the IRL side of things as well, because I mean, it's one big rule that I have for just the way that I live my life is that anything that's happening in real life takes priority.
Oh yeah,
and all of this Divine Mind stuff and gaming and all that type of stuff takes a back seat. Because the stuff that happens in real life around you is reality, and the rest of it's also a reality, but it's not the one that I can always be present in. I can always, close the computer screen, turn the Xbox off, walk away, and you can't do that from real life. So completely support you. And from everything that we've heard, and that you gave us an overview of your life, you've got so much to do and live for in that outside of it.
Yeah.
I think that, on behalf of the Halo community, we're lucky to have had you for as long as we have had, and the impact and the influence that you've made on Europa Halo and the scene has been really significant and really substantial. So, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, well, and look, I haven't did it for thanks, but it's much appreciated, obviously, the support. Like I said, it started as a dare and became a hobby, and it's kind of just snowballed into something bigger. But
over the years, how many hours do you reckon you've put into it?
Jesus, hundreds, 1,000 maybe.
Yeah.
There was times when I would do prep for tournaments alone, where I would be building assets. If I was in between seasons or tournaments, I'd be building assets such as new graphics and new features and new templates and different bits and pieces. I would spend alone probably 40 or 50 hours in terms of prep for some leagues and tournaments. The likes of some of the content that we put out recently in terms of videos, and we did videos for the official HCS MCC Pro Series whenever that was, way back in the start of COVID and the lockdown, that we were able to feature on the actual official Halo stream. Some of the wee, sketches that Jersey and Gaskin did. Those sorts of videos takes hours too to just nail and get perfect. Lots of editing and things, and it's got quicker obviously as my own experience with things has moved on. But I would say definitely over 1,000 hours of work put into Halo in the last even couple of years. Yeah, awesome. Was there anything that when you first kind of started out doing it that you didn't achieve over the time, like that you wish you had have done? Oh yeah, there's that's probably one of the things. It was kind of the part of the dare that we talked about was that I wanted to host an organic Halo LAN on the island of Ireland, something close to home, because Ireland hasn't seen really any major massive Halo events ever, I don't think. I had earmarked a few locations and had talked to a few locations, and there was even something in the pipeline to happen pre-COVID. That was one of the dreams. I think the other dream was obviously to support a brand new Halo game on day one. I came into Halo 5's life cycle at the end of 2016. I think it launched in 2015.
Yeah.
So it was already nearly 18 months, something like that, of Halo before I actually even come into the picture.
Yeah.
The other one then was, what was the other one? I didn't stay one, but yeah, the kind of the Halo LAN in Ireland was the big thing, like, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the angle I'm coming at you in November.
Working on a LAN. Sorry, working with the actual HCS team on a LAN would have been one of the dreams too. Like, I mean, I'd worked with Faceit, with the last LAN that happened in London. I worked a bit with them, just advising them on some of the formats and some of the ideas, and they took that on board. For example, Halo 5. I don't think they initially wanted to do a Halo 5 part of the LAN, and then between myself and some of the Europa Halo team, we convinced them to do a Halo 5 doubles tournament, and you know, I think that went down a really good success, because we, you know, a lot of people got the best of both worlds. They were able to go and play Halo 3 on LAN, and when they got knocked out early, they could go over and play Halo 5 at doubles tournament. And
smart.
You know, I think it sort of maximized the participation levels.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's great. So there's a question that I like to ask everyone. It's one of the last two questions that we do on the podcast, and that is, what does a dream version of Kalen look like? So obviously, you know, it might be, do you want to earn more money? Do you want to have a nice car? Do you want to exercise more? Do you want to play more football? Do you want to retire at 30, 40, 50? You know, like, do you want 4 kids and a nice big farm that you can grow organic food on? Like, I don't care. What's the dream version of Kalen look like?
Win the Euro Millions, to build a massive training complex in the middle of Ireland, somewhere in rural Ireland, so that, you know, elite sports teams could come and train at my facility, and then meeting everybody like Messi or Ronaldo turning up at your doorstep in the middle of Ireland. That would be something cool. I always said that. I said, like, to my partner, I says, you know, if we win the Euro Millions, I'm taking about like 30 or 40 million of it, and I'm going to build this mecca of sports facilities and get like training camps for like Manchester United or Real Madrid's and to come over. That'd be just making this, like, that would be the dream. But look, I'd be happy. I'm happy with just a simple life too. Just to be happy, healthy, and, you know, be in employment and have a good life in terms of my family life.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it, man. That's a really good one. I think that's, I've spoken to a few people about that as well. And because I just love the idea of bringing not just sports people, I like the idea of bringing just people that have got the right passion, you know, the right genius, the right things together, but maybe don't have the right opportunity, and bringing them and putting them in a place and being like, okay, here you go. You can kind of, you know, I want to see what you can do. And I love that. So that's a really great answer. The second one is, I didn't really give you too much time with this, so if you need a little bit more time, you can just tell me, but I ask everybody to kind of nominate somebody to come on and talk on the Divine Mind podcast next, someone that you think would add some value to the conversation from the esports scene. Doesn't have to specifically be from Halo, but did you have time to choose someone?
I didn't have time to choose somebody, but I know I could get you somebody. The one person I would love to nominate for an interview, and it would be a world exclusive if you could actually manage to get him. I don't think he's ever appeared on camera or even his voice been heard. Yeah. That would be Halo Data Hive, and he would be interesting to talk to, but I don't think he would ever come on any show. He's just very secretive and seclusive that way. But
we can make a sprite and just have the sprite in it where his head is.
I don't even think you'd even say it. He'd hear his voice. It's very rare that you'd hear his voice. You'd probably catch him on matchmaking in Halo, but probably then you'd have a world exclusive in your hands if you got that. But I'd say I'll nominate the incoming leader of Europa Halo, and I'd say Hcs
Awesome.
Richie Sheridan would probably be a good shout for to get on the show at some point to quiz him about his ideas for Europa Halo and where he
what
sees.
direction he wants to take it in and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think we should both give Halo Data Hive a crack. Both jump in the DM.
I'll message him. I'll message him after this, and we'll see. But I know what the response will be. It'll be no.
Well, ask him why, and then we can work backwards from there. We can overcome each obstacle until it becomes
yeah. You need to have some sort of stupidly high compensation for him if you were doing something to get him on. I think he'd be world exclusive stuff here. Like, it's not just he appears on every show, but yeah.
No, awesome. But I mean, either him or Scherzy. I think Scherzy would be great to speak to. I've seen him casting. He's high energy. He's got great personality. So Scherzy and Halo Data Hive, I'm going to be in your DMs. Hit me up, and it'd be great to organize some time to be able to chat. Kaylin, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today as well. It was awesome to get the history and the background of yourself, and then leading into Europa Halo as well. Was there anything else that you wanted to kind of add before we finish off?
I mean, actually, it did have one thing to say, and I think people will also, always criticize Halo. And it's one thing that I think that can be taken away recently, because I seen on the list of stuff that you'd said, what's one game that I'm playing now? But people always use the stick to beat Halo with is that it's too old. It's old games can't survive in this day and age. But there's obviously some games that have beaten the trend, like CS:GO, for example, and stuff. But at the same time, they've always been popular. It's never been they've ever seen a dip. One of the games that I'm playing at the minute is Age of Empires 2, which is a game that's 21 years old, and it is probably died twice, and is going to be playing this weekend in a major event, and it'll probably hit about 50 or 60,000 views.
Wow.
Which, for a 21-year-old game that has not changed much, it's getting full support. And the devs who are letting community guys run the tournaments, it's not a case of they have an esports division, they let community guys run the tournaments. They're super passionate, super involved, and I think that Halo could learn something from that. And like people who use that stick to beat Halo with, that it's too old and it'll never reach the peak of 2008 Halo 3. I think just take a look at most recent Age of Empires. You'll see this weekend there's a Red Bull tournament that's on this weekend, and it'll probably hit 50 or 60,000 peak views. Yeah.
And so, do you think that that's an issue with from the community side of things, like as in the way that the community talks about Halo, or do you think it's a way that the support from the devs and the actual like HCS, which side?
There's a lot of criticism that the community gives, sometimes warranted and sometimes it's totally unwarranted too. But I think that there's issues in both sides there. I think the general community mentality is sometimes to really be negative about Halo. When it's split off in terms of its style from being a classic Halo shooter to more of a modern shooter these days with Halo 4 and Halo 5. I think people really use that as the stick to beat it with. But I think obviously sometimes too, the competitive settings have been shoved down our throats too, especially at the start of Halo 5's life cycle. And I think those things, if they could learn from the mistakes, both the community and the esports side of things, that I think Halo could be very successful in 2021.
Yeah. I especially like the idea of both listening to each other. Like if you're putting in your game the capacity to change settings and everything like that, and it becomes something as a standout, then I don't think there's any reason why, if it's not working at a community or at a grassroots level, to implement it and give it a crack at an actual HCS level, more so than, like you said, force feeding something and being like, no, this is what we decided is going to be the competitive, and it's what we're going to do. We're in such a world now, I think, where any of this type of anything at all, business is now about the consumer first, and I think that that's something that could happen better from Halo's perspective, is to just be more involved with the community and the consumer and the customer, and find a really good balance between the millions of people that are going to buy Halo just to play the campaign, and the hundreds of thousands of people that are going to keep playing the game for the next 10 years. I think that's a really important thing that Halo needs to do, like the actual business of Halo needs to do, is find a really good way to support both of those rather than just trying to hit one of them for the initial profit, if that makes any sense. But yeah, no, that was good. I'm glad you added that. Was there anything else you wanted to chuck in as well? Because that was awesome.
No, obviously to anybody who listens, I've said it before, if anybody needs any help with their esports organization or a tournament organization, or just a general idea of what they want to be in terms of the Halo community, I'm more than welcome and willing to reach out to myself at any point to discuss. Messages are always open there.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can be someone to vouch for that. I mean, between you and Martin, I've learned so much. You guys have been from the start, from the very first time that we signed up to Twitter and started trying to go at it for Divine Mind and for the tournaments that we did. You two both jumped up there and kind of were super supportive of everything that we did, offered valuable insight from the time that you've been doing it as well. So, I encourage anybody that is thinking about doing some competitions to get in touch with yourself and even just have the open mind to learn from your experience, because it's obviously super valuable. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, everybody that's watched it and made it this far into it, I really appreciate your viewership. I'd love it if you could leave us a comment below. Let us know what you thought about it. If there were any questions that you missed out, I'm sure both of us will be looking through the comments, both on YouTube and also it's on any podcast platform that you can think of. Google, it's on iTunes, it's on Pocket Podcasts, it's on Spotify. Absolutely anywhere that you want to watch it, the podcast is there. Leave us comments. I check all of them, and let us know what you thought. Let us know if there's anything that you'd like, sections you'd like me to add in as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Callum, for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch everybody out there in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks again.